Welcome to this explainer. If you're a parent navigating the Mississippi school system, keeping your child safe and ready to learn is, well, it's your absolute top priority. But when bullying enters the picture, it can feel completely overwhelming, like you're suddenly lost in a maze. That's exactly why we're opening up the playbook on Mississippi school bullying policies today. We're going to take all that dense legal jargon, translate it, and give you a clear, actionable roadmap. That way you can confidently and effectively advocate for your kid.
Okay, let's dive into this. The entire foundation of what we're talking about today rests on one absolutely crucial fact. Mississippi law requires local school districts to include a strict prohibition against bullying or harassing behavior. Now, I want to pause on that word requires. Listen, bullying prevention in Mississippi, it is not just some polite suggestion. It's definitely not just a motivational poster slapped on a cafeteria wall. No way. It is a strict, legally binding mandate. The state literally commands local districts to have formal written policies in place.
So to make sure you walk away completely empowered, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the law on bullying, then define exactly what bullying means legally. From there, we'll look at how schools must respond, where you actually need to report your concerns, and finally, we'll wrap up with some concrete action steps for parents.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the law on bullying. Understanding this baseline statewide legal framework is really the very first step to feeling empowered before you ever even step foot into an administrator's office.
So, the Mississippi Department of Education ensures that while local districts might have their own little flavor or differ a bit in their day-to-day training, the structural bones, they have to be identical. Every single district is mandated to embed this bullying prohibition directly into their personnel policies, their discipline policies, and the overall code of student conduct. Plus, they absolutely must have clear procedures for reporting and investigating these incidents. So whether you're up in South Haven, over in Jackson, or down in Biloxi, this formal policy structure has to be maintained by your school.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining bullying and harassment. This distinction is absolutely vital, guys, because we legally need to separate everyday student conflict, regular kid stuff, from actionable, damaging harassment.
In Mississippi, behavior escalates to a serious, actionable level when it creates what the law calls a hostile environment. Let's de-jargonize that for a second, right? It basically has two parts. First, the victim has to subjectively experience the conduct as bullying, like it actually hurts them personally. Second, and this is how schools measure this severity, a reasonable person must also consider the behavior to be severe or pervasive. Basically, if an average, objective person watched what was happening, they say, wow, yes, that is severely damaging, or yes, that is happening over and over again. This dual standard is what helps schools weed out a random, one-off argument over a kickball game from targeted, systematic harassment that literally interferes with a child's right to an education.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the law is adapting to the realities of our modern world. In 2026, we all know that harmful behavior doesn't just magically stop when the school bell rings. It might start in the cafeteria, sure, but it spreads like wildfire onto social media, group chats, and text messages. Mississippi school materials explicitly recognize cyberbullying. District policies actually extend to electronic communications whenever that conduct affects the school environment. So, if a late-night social media post is making your child feel terrified to sit in class or get on the bus the next morning, yeah, it for sure falls under this policy.
All right, Section 3. How schools must respond. Because once a problem is actually identified, the district carries some very specific obligations. Let's look at exactly what you are entitled to expect from them.
Your school has a strict mandate the second a report is made. First off, they are expected to investigate. That means separating students, interviewing witnesses, and preserving the evidence. They also must notify the parents of both the victim and the alleged bully. They've got to consider offering counseling support to the affected student, and, this is deeply important, they must protect the reporting student from any retaliation. But I want you to pay special attention to that last point there. Mississippi's state model language specifically requires districts to avoid disciplining a student who's found to be a victim of bullying solely for reasonable self-defense. That is a massive game-changing protection for a targeted child who simply had to protect themselves in a frightening moment.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. The burden of fixing this mess, it doesn't rest purely on the shoulders of the victimized student or you, the parents. Mississippi law mandates that a school employee who witnesses bullying, or even just gets reliable information that it occurred, must report it to the appropriate school official. The adults in the building are legally accountable. They literally cannot just look the other way.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, where to report concerns. Because having the law on your side is fantastic, but it doesn't mean much if you don't know how to pull the right levers to activate the system.
I want to ask you this directly. If your child comes home today and tells you they are being harassed, where do you actually start? Like, who do you call first? Knowing the exact reporting path is basically the difference between getting a swift resolution and suffering through weeks of agonizing bureaucratic delays.
Now, what's really interesting here is a major misconception that trips up a lot of folks. You might be surprised to learn that skipping ahead to the state level is actually a very common and very costly mistake. A lot of parents assume they should just bypass the local school when things get bad and go straight to the big boss, the Mississippi Department of Education. But here's the actual truth. The state's Office of Accreditation, they do not investigate local bullying complaints. Your local district is the primary place to report and resolve these issues. You absolutely have to start at the school level using the district's specific reporting process. Please don't lose valuable time trying to get the state to investigate a local dispute. Go directly to the principal or the designated district official first.
Okay, let's bring this all together in our final segment, Section 5, Action Steps for Parents. This right here is your concrete playbook, your strategy for moving forward.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a super clear 4-step strategy you can use today. Step 1. Review your district's Code of Student Conduct at the start of every single school year. Don't wait for a crisis to hit before you read it. Step 2. Document everything. Take screenshots of messages, write down dates, times, and get the names of any witnesses. Now, while the source notes this is more of a practical step rather than a strict legal requirement, let me tell you, it is incredibly powerful when you're demanding an investigation. Step 3. Report the issue promptly to the specific official named in your district's policy. And Step 4. Follow up. Keep politely but firmly checking in until you are 100% satisfied the issue is resolved and your child is safe.
So why does all of this matter so much? Well, because bullying policies aren't just some legal paperwork sitting in a dusty binder on an administrator's desk somewhere. They dictate the daily reality of your child's life. Bullying severely impacts attendance. It completely degrades mental health, and it absolutely tanks academic performance. When a clear policy is consistently enforced, it quite literally changes lives. It ensures our kids feel safe in the hallways, in the cafeterias, on the buses, and even in the digital spaces connected to their education.
I want to leave you with this final, truly critical thought. Think about your child right now. Do they know exactly who to talk to if they feel unsafe at school tomorrow? Do they know who their safe adult is? Take the information from this explainer, sit down with them tonight, and have that conversation. Knowledge is your best defense. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay empowered.